So I'd like to welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. Wanted to seek your good wishes and your blessings so that we can continue with the Srimad Bhagavatam, third chapter today. And it's a really, yes, last week was amazing chapter 2. But this chapter also is really equally amazing because it describes this is the chapter is entitled Krishna is the source of all incarnations. Very powerful chapter. And it describes the different avatars that have come and to come as well. And how they are all part and parcel or expansions of Krishna. So this is an eye-opening chapter. Many people will be perhaps thinking that Vishnu is the source of Krishna, but actually Srimad Bhagavatam puts it the other way around. Okay, so, thank you very much, Lena, for beautiful darshan, Radha Krishna, magnificent. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for your Mandir's darshan. It's very beautiful temple.
Thank you so much, yeah. Lord's mercy.
True, true.
Okay, so let's, now we have a very special person today who's going to recite the third chapter, the Sanskrit, and that is Ananda Leela. She's also very expert, and let me just...
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Dandavad.
Hare Krishna. Fantastic, thank you so much. So you can start for the first text.
Yes, Prabhu. First of all, I would like to thank you for giving me the opportunity to chant the verses of Srimad Bhagavatam. I feel greatly fortunate. Of course, we are missing Shruti Mataji.
You're no different.
She's our teacher, Prabhu, and seeking her grace, we await her return soon.
Yes, indeed. You're absolutely right about that. Oops, let me just make it a little bigger. No, thank you so much for taking this on.
I will try my best, Prabhu. I've never done this, so I will try my best.
Absolutely. That's all we can do. That's really good. But I know you chant well anyway, so thank you. Go for it.
Thank you, Prabhu. Okay. First of all, I would say Shri Nityananda Chandram Patita Shananadam Gauradam Tam Bhajeham Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Sutta Uvacha Jagrihe Purusham Rupam Bhagavan Mahad Adibihi Shambhutam Sodasha Kalam Adau Loka Sikshaya.
Magnificent. Thank you so much. Sutta said, in the beginning of creation, the Lord first expanded himself in the universal form of the Purush incarnation and manifested all the ingredients for the material creation. And thus at first there was the creation of the 16 principles of material action. This was for the purpose of creating the material universes. So we'll look at that a little bit later. First 5 verses talk about this creation process. You can carry on, Anandila.
Yashambhashi sayanasya yoganidram vitanvataha nadhihiradam bujadashi brahma vishva shijampati.
A part of the Purush lies down within the water of the universe. We will know him as Garbhodakshaya Vishnu in a minute. From the navel lake of his body sprouts a lotus stem. And from the lotus flower atop this stem, Brahma, this is the four-headed Brahma, the master of the engineers in the universe, becomes manifest.
Yashavayava samsthanai kalpito loka vishtaraha tadvai bhagavato rupam vishuddham sadvam urjitam.
It is believed that all the universal planetary systems are situated on the extensive body of the Purush, that's Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. But he has nothing to do with the created material ingredients. His body is eternally in spiritual existence, par excellence.
Pashyanti ado rupamadbrachakshusha sahasrapado rupujanana bhuttam sahasramurdha shravanakshinashikam sahasramoli ambarakundalolasha.
That's really wonderful, Anandalila. The devotees with their perfect eyes see the transcendental form of the Purush, who has thousands of legs, thighs, arms, and faces, all extraordinary. In that body, there are thousands of heads, ears, eyes, and noses. They are decorated with thousands of helmets and glowing earrings and are adorned with garlands. So this is like the universal form of the Supreme Lord, which was shown to Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita.
Etannanavataranam nidhanam bijamavyayam yasham samsena srijante devatiryannaradayah.
This form, the second manifestation of the Purush. So remember this, the second manifestation is the source and indestructible seed of multifarious incarnations within the universe. From the particles and portions of this form, different living entities like demigods, men, and others are created. So this form, the second manifestation of the Purush, and we'll see that in a minute, is the source of all the incarnations. So let's have a look at a little bit more detail what these verses explain. So what these 5 verses describe are the Purush avatars. The first Purush is Karanadakshaya Vishnu. From his skin holes, innumerable universes have sprung up. In each and every universe, the Purush enters as Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. This is the second Purush. He is lying within the half of the universe, which is full with water of his body. From the navel of Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, the second Purush, has sprung the stem of the lotus flower, the birthplace of Brahma, who is the father of all living beings and the master of all the demigods, engineers, engaged in the perfect design and working of the universal order. Within the stem of the lotus, so now we're talking about the lotus, there are 14 divisions of planetary systems, and the earthly planets are situated in the middle. Upwards, there are other better planetary systems, and the topmost system is called Brahmalok or Satyalok. Downward from earthly planetary system, there are 7 lower planetary systems inhabited by the asuras and similar other materialistic living beings. From Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, there is an expansion of Shirodakshaya Vishnu. Who is the collective Paramatma of all living beings. He is called Hari, and from him all incarnations within the universe are expanded. So from Krishna expands Balaram, then the quadruple expansion. We saw this last week, I think. Narayan comes from Sankarsan, from whom comes the second quadruple expansion. From Sankarsan comes Mahavishnu, Karanadakshay Vishnu, the first Purush. Then comes the second Purush, Garbhadakshay Vishnu. Then comes the third Purush, Shirodakshay Vishnu. So let's focus on all these three. And we can see these are all expansions of expansions of expansions of expansions of Krishna. So the original is Krishna. And this third chapter establishes Krishna as the original Supreme Personality of Godhead, from whom all expansions come. Karanadakshay Vishnu lies on the casual ocean. When he breathes out, all these universes come out of the pores of his skin. And in every universe, he incarnates as the second Purush, from whom the lotus stem comes. The 14 planetary systems are in this lotus stem. And at the top is Lord Brahma. He is a jiva like us, but he's very special. He's very pure. And he's been given special power by the Lord to create, do the secondary creation of this world. And then there's the third Purush, who is Shirodakshay Vishnu, who is Paramatma. He resides in every living entity. Everybody has a soul. Everybody is a soul. And in this body, there are two souls. We are there, and Paramatma is there as well. Paramatma is the witness, is the protector, is the guide with us. Okay, so let's look at the Lila avatars. Do you want to read? So, Ananda Lila, please carry on.
Yes, Prabhuji. Sa eva prathamam devaha kumaram sargamashritah chachara dushcharam brahma brahmacharyam akandhitam.
First of all, in the beginning of creation, there were the 4 unmarried sons of Brahma, the 4 Kumaras, who, being situated in a vow of celibacy, underwent severe austerities for realization of the absolute truth.
So one by one, these Lila avatars are discussed now.
Dvityam tu bhavayasya rasatalagatam mahim udhari san upadatta yagnesha sokaram vapu.
The supreme enjoyer of all sacrifices accepted the incarnation for Bor. This is the second incarnation. And for the welfare of the earth, he lifted the earth from the nether regions of the universe.
Tritiyam rishi sargam vai devarsidvam upetyasah tantram sadvavatam achashta naiskarmyam karmanam yatah.
In the millennium of the Rishis, the personality of Godhead accepted the third empowered incarnation in the form of Devrishi Narad, who is a great sage among the demigods. He collected expositions of the Vedas, which deal with devotional service and which inspire non-fruitive action.
Turye dharma kala sarge nara narayana vrashi bhutvatmo pasham mopetam akaro dushcharam tapaha.
In the 4th incarnation, the Lord became Nar and Narayan, the twin sons of the wife of King Dharma. Thus, he undertook severe and exemplary penances to control the senses.
Panchamah kapilo nama siddheshah kala viplutam provacha surae shankyam tadvagrama vinirnayam.
The 5th incarnation, named Lord Kapil, is foremost among perfected beings. He gave an exposition of the creative elements and metaphysics to Asuri Brahman, for in course of time this knowledge has been lost.
Shashtham atrer apatyadvam vrittah prapto na shuyaya anvikshikim alarkaya praladadibhya uchivan.
The sixth incarnation of the Purush was the son of the sage Atri. He was born from the womb of Ansuya, who prayed for an incarnation. He spoke on the subject of transcendence to Alark, Prahlad, and others like Yadu, Hayaya, etc.
Tatha saptama akutyam ruchir yagno bhyajayata sayamajhay suraganir apat swayam bhuvantaram.
The seventh incarnation was Yagya, the son of Prajapati Ruchi and his wife Akuti. He controlled the period during the change of the Swayambhu Manu and was assisted by demigods such as his son Yam.
Ashtame meru devyam tu nabher jata uru kramah darshayan vartamadhiranam sarvashrama namaskritam.
The eighth incarnation was King Rishabh, son of King Nabi and his wife Meru Devi. In this incarnation, the Lord showed the path of perfection, which is followed by those who have fully controlled their senses and who are honored by all orders of life.
Rishibhiryachito bheje navamam parthivam vapuh dugde mam oshadhir vipras tenayam sa ushattamaha.
O Brahmins, in the ninth incarnation, the Lord prayed for by the sages, accepted the body of a king, Prithu, who cultivated the land to yield various produce. For that reason, the earth was beautiful and attractive.
Rupam sajagrihe matsyam chakshushodadhi samplava navi aropya mahimayam aparvaishvashvatam manum.
When there was a complete inundation after the period of the Chakshushu Manu, and the whole world was deep within water, the Lord accepted the form of a fish and protected Vaivastha Manu, keeping him on the boat.
Sura nam udadhim mathnatam mandarachalam dadre kamatha rupena prishtha ekadase vipu. The
11th incarnation of the Lord took the form of a tortoise whose shells served as a pivot for the Mandrachal hill, which is being used as a churning rod by the theist and atheist of the universe.
So let's take a little pause there. So these verses from 6 to 27, they describe, yeah, we haven't finished them all yet. We're halfway through. Of the unlimited incarnations, Sutta Goswami describes 22. So we've done 11, described 11 very briefly. Beginning with the 4 Kumaras, he ends with the Kalki incarnation. Incarnations are described to be innumerable, like rivulets flowing from an inexhaustible source of water. Also, they're described to be waves in the ocean. You can't count the waves in the ocean. You can't count the incarnations of the Lord. And these verses also answer the 5th question that the sages had put to Sutta Goswami. So these Lila avatars, I won't go through it in any detail because the words are self-explanatory. But basically, these are the 4 Kumaras. There's the first of the Lila avatars. Then there's Narad Muni, the transcendental spaceman. He's also regarded to be an avatar, Saktavesh avatar, very powerful incarnation. A jiva who has been given special powers. Saktavesh avatar. Then there was Varaha, the boar incarnation. He's quite famously known as part of the Das avatars. But as you can see, there's more than just the Das avatars. Das avatar are the prominent avatars. But there are a lot more avatars and millions of avatars. Matsya. So as we say, Mach, Kach, Varaha. So Mach is there, fish avatar. Yagya, Naranarayan Rishi. Kapil Dev. He's described many chapters in this Bhagavatam. This philosophy of Sankhya has come from him. Dattatreya, Hayagriva, Hams, Pranigarbha, Prishnigarbha, this is Hans. Here we have Rishabdev. He's also described in the Bhagavatam, and there's quite a few chapters of his description together with his sons. Prithu is again described in the Bhagavatam. Very interesting pastime. So, yeah. So let's carry on with the chanting of the verses. That's what's done, isn't it? Twice. Okay, Anila.
Dhanvantaram dvadashamam trayodashamam evacha apaya yatsurananyan mohinya mohayan striya.
In the 12th incarnation, the Lord appeared as Dhanvantari. In the 13th, he allured the atheist by the charming beauty of a woman and gave nectar to the demigods to drink.
Chaturdasham nara simham bibhradai chandramurjitam dadara karajairurav erakam katakridyatha.
In the 14th incarnation, the Lord appeared as Nrsimha and bifurcated the strong body of the atheist Hiranyakashipu with his nails, just as a carpenter pierces cane.
Panchadasham vamanakam kvitvagad advaram bale padatrayam yachamanaha pratiyadit sustri pishtapam.
In the 15th incarnation, the Lord assumed the form of a dwarf Brahman, Vaman, and visited the arena of sacrifice arranged by Maharaj Bali. Although at heart he was willing to regain the kingdom of the 3 planetary systems, he simply asked for a donation of 3 steps of land.
Avatare sodashami pasyan brahma druho nripan tri sapta kitva kupito nihikshantrama karun mahim.
In the 16th incarnation of Godhead, the Lord as Bhrigupati annihilated the administrative class, Kshatriyas, 21 times, being angry with them because of their rebellion against the Brahmins, the intelligent class.
Tatha sapta dase jatah satyavacham parasarat chakre vedataro sakha drishtva pumso ipamidhasa.
Thereafter, in the 17th incarnation of Godhead, Sri Vyasadeva appeared in the womb of Satyavati through Parasar Muni, and he divided the one Veda into several branches and sub-branches, saying that the people in general were less intelligent.
Nara devatvam apanaha surakarya chikirsaya samudra nigrahadini chakre viryani yatha param.
In the 18th incarnation, the Lord appeared as King Ram. In order to perform some pleasing work for the demigods, he exhibited superhuman powers by controlling the Indian Ocean and then killing the atheist King Ravan, who was on the other side of the sea.
एकोनाविंशे विंशातिमे वृष्णिषु प्राप्य जन्मानि रामकृष्णाविति भुवो भगवान् अहरद्भरम्.
In the 19th and 20th incarnations, the Lord advented himself as Lord Balram and Lord Krishna in the family of Vrishni, the Yadu dynasty. By so doing, he removed the burden of the world.
तथा कलो सम्प्रावृते समोहाय सुरद्विषां बुद्धो नाम्यान् ज्ञानसुतः किकातेषु भविष्यति.
Then in the beginning of Kali Yuga, the Lord will appear as Lord Buddha, the son of Anjana, in the province of Gaya, just for the purpose of deluding those who are envious of the faithful theists.
अथासो योगसन्ध्यायां दस्यु प्रयासु राजसु जनिता विष्णुयशसो नाम्ना कल्किर्जगत्पतिः.
Thereafter, at the conjunction of the two yugas, the Lord of the creation will take his birth as the Kalki incarnation, become the son of Vishnu Yasha. At this time, almost all the rulers of the earth will have degenerated into plunderers.
अवतारा हि असंख्येया हरे सद्वानिधिर्द्विजः यथा विदासिना कुल्यः सह सरसाशु सहस्रशः.
O Brahmins, the incarnations of the Lord are innumerable, like rivulets flowing from inexhaustible sources of water.
So this is one of the points, that incarnations are so many, you can't even count them. He's just listed a few, 22 of them.
ऋषयो मानवो देवा मानुपुत्रा महोजशाः कलाः सर्वे हरेरेव सप्रजापतया स्मितः.
All the rishis, manus, demigods, and descendants of Manu, who are especially powerful, are plenary portions or portions of the plenary portions of the Lord. This also includes the Prajapatis.
Excellent. Thank you so much. So then just carrying on, Nrsingadev was described in brief. Here he is, half man, half lion of the incarnation of the Lord. Some people think that the Lord is violent. Well, actually, he's not. Even when he kills, he protects. Even this demon was killed by the Lord. But of course, the Lord can't kill, because the soul is eternal. And what happens to the soul? Because the Lord has touched the body, the soul becomes purified. He goes back to the spiritual world. So even when he destroys, he protects. This is the beauty of the Lord. He's neutral to the demons, to the devotees. He's completely neutral. Of course, if somebody approaches him in a favorable way, he's treated in a favorable way. If he approaches in an unfavorable way, even then the Lord treats him in a favorable way. So this is the most amazing thing about the Lord. Then the Kurma incarnation, tortoise, is described. Again, in the Bhagavatam, there's many chapters which describe this glorious event. Dhanvantari, the science of medicine, came from the Lord as well. Ayurveda. Mohini, he appears as a lady as well. And he bewilders the demons. Vamandev comes as a Brahmin boy to take all the land from Bali Maharaj. Comes as Pashuram, and he destroys the Kshatriyas class 21 times. He comes as Raghavindra, Ramachandra, and we all know the pastimes of Lord Ram, Sita Ram. Comes as Vyasadev, he writes the scriptures. This is the literal incarnation of the Lord. He is Krishna, come to write the scriptures. We're very fortunate because of Vyasadev. We have access to this knowledge. Balaram, who is as we saw earlier, the first plenary expansion of the Lord. He acts as Krishna's older brother, and Krishna himself, the original form of the Lord. There he is, magnificent. He's not an incarnation. That comes in a minute. And then we describe Buddha was described, or also an incarnation of Vishnu. And Kalki, the final incarnation of this Kali Yuga, he comes at the end of Kali Yuga. So just before we look at chapter 28, it's worth, sorry, verse 28, it's worth understanding what that verse is going to say. All the above mentioned incarnations are either plenary portions or portions of the plenary portions of the Lord. That means they're either part of the Lord or part of the Lord. But Lord Krishna is the original personality of Godhead. All of them appear on planets whenever there is a disturbance created by the atheists. The Lord incarnates to protect the theists. So let's have a look at 28.
Ete chamsha kala pumsaha Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam Indrari Vyakulam Lokam Mirdayanti Yuge Yuge.
All of the above mentioned incarnations are either plenary portions or portions of the plenary portions of the Lord. But Lord Shri Krishna is the original personality of Godhead. All of them appear on planets whenever there is a disturbance created by the atheists. The Lord incarnates to protect the theists.
So this is a critical part of this verse. Krishna stu Bhagavan Swayam. So Krishna is the original supreme personality of Godhead. Very important to understand this. This is from the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the authority of all authorities. And it's stated there very clearly. Okay. So yes, now there's two more segments to this Bhagavatam. It's about 15, 16 verses. And we can go through those very easily. So, okay, Anandalila Mataji.
Janma guhyam bhagavato ya etat prayato naraha shayam pratar grinan bhaktya dukha gramad vimuchyate.
Whoever carefully recites the mysterious appearances of the Lord with devotion in the morning and in the evening gets relief from all miseries of life.
Etadrupam bhagavato hi arupasya chidatmanah maya guner virachitam mahadadi viratmani.
The conception of the Virat universal form of the Lord as appearing in the material world is imaginary. It is to enable the less intelligent and neophytes to adjust to the idea of the Lord Lord's having form. But factually, the Lord has no material form.
Very important point. What Arjuna was shown by Krishna, the Virat Roop, is not a form that exists in the spiritual world. It is a form that the Lord manifests in this world to make the non-believers in him believe. That's all it is. This universal form has no eternal existence. It's imaginary. The Lord creates it so that we can believe that this is the Lord. But actually, he has no requirement for this universal form. Because he has no material form. His form is pure spirit. No material contamination whatsoever.
Yatha nabhasi meghaugho renurva parthivo nile evam drashtari drishchatvam aropitam abhuddhibhihi.
Clouds and dust are carried by the air, But less intelligent persons say that the sky is cloudy and the air is dirty. Similarly, they also implant material bodily conceptions on the spirit itself.
Atha param yad avyaktam avyuddha guna brimhitam adrishta sruta vastutvat sajivo yat punarbhavaha. Beyond this gross conception of form is another subtle conception of form, which is without formal shape and is unseen, unheard, and unmanifest. The living being has his form beyond this subtlety. Otherwise, he could not have repeated births. Yatre me saddashadrupe pratisiddhe swasamvida avidyayatmani krite iti tad brahma darshanam. Whenever a person experiences by self-realization that both the gross and subtle bodies have nothing to do with the pure self, at that time he sees himself as well as the Lord. Yadi esho parata devi maya vaisharadi matihi sampana eviti vidur mahimni swe mahiyate. If the illusory energy subsides and the living entity becomes fully enriched with knowledge by the grace of the Lord, then he becomes at once enlightened with self-realization and thus becomes situated in his own glory. Evam janmani karmani hi akartur ajanasya cha varnayanti sma kavayo veda guhyani hirpate. Thus, learned men describe the births and activities of the unborn and inactive, which is undiscoverable even in the Vedic literatures. He is the Lord of the heart. Savaidam vishvam amogha lilaha sirjati avati atina sajetismin bhutesu chantarhita atma tantraha sadvargikam jigrati sadguneshaha. The Lord, whose activities are always spotless, is the master of the six senses and is fully omnipotent with six opulences. He creates the manifested universes, maintains them, and annihilates them without being in the least affected. He is within every living being and is always independent. Nachasya kaschin nipunena dhatur avaiti jantu kumanisha uttihi namani rupani manuvachubhihi santanvato natacharyam ivyagyanaha. The foolish with the poor fund of knowledge cannot know the transcendental nature of the forms, names, and activities of the Lord, who is playing like an actor in a drama. Nor can they express such things, neither in their speculations nor in their words. Saveda dhatu padavim parasya durantara viryasya rathanga paneha yomayaya santatayatnu vritya bhaje tatpada saruja gandham. Only those who render unreserved, uninterrupted, favorable service unto the lotus feet of Lord Krishna, who carries the wheel of the chariot in his hand, can know the creator of the universe in his full glory, power, and transcendence. Ate hadanya bhagavanta itham yadvasudeve khilalokanathe kurvanti sarvat makamatma bhavam nayatra bhuyah parivarta ugraha. Only by making such inquiries in this world
can one be successful and perfectly cognizant, for such inquiries invoke transcendental ecstatic love unto the personality of Godhead, who is the proprietor of all the universes and guarantees cent% immunity from the dreadful repetition of birth and death.
Jay, well done. So, just a very quick break. These verses now describe the universal form to a degree. The recitation of the appearance of the Lord with devotion in the morning and evening gives relief from the miseries of life. So it's always good to remember the Lord early morning, late evening. It'll give relief from miseries of life. The concept of the universal form of the Lord is imaginary because the Lord has no material form. The universal form is the manifestation of the material universe. So it cannot be a form of the Lord because he has no material form. When the living entity, that's us, is graced by the Lord, he becomes enlightened with self-realization. How do we get graced by the Lord? We have to make some effort. If we make the effort, he graces. If we don't make an effort, there's no question of any grace. But without this grace, we'll never be able to understand the Lord. Only unreserved, uninterrupted bhakti to Krishna can allow to know us his full glory, power, transcendence. So bhakti is very important. Bhakti means to become engaged with the Lord somehow or other, through some seva, some chanting of the holy names, some puja arti, something that will connect us to the Supreme Lord. Very important. Now the final section, there's a few verses left, which describes the power of this Bhagavatam that we are going through.
Idam Bhagavatam Nama Puranam Brahma Samhitam Uttama Sloka Charitam Chakara Bhagavan Rishi Niresyasya Shalokasya Dhyanam Swasti Ayanam Mahat.
This Srimad Bhagavatam is literary incarnation of God, and it is compiled by Srila Vyasadeva, the incarnation of God. It is meant for the ultimate good of all people. It is all successful, all blissful, and all perfect.
So this is the whole point. This is the literary incarnation of God. When we read the Bhagavatam, we're with God, literally with God, because this is the literal incarnation of the Lord. So this is really very, very, very fortunate to be able to engage in this wonderful pastime.
Tad idam grahayamasha sutam atmavatam varam sarva vedeti hasanam saram samudritam.
Srila Vyasadeva delivered it to his son, who is the most respected among the self-realized, after extracting the cream of all Vedic literatures and histories of the universe.
Satu samsravayamasa maharajam parikshitam prayopavishtam gangayam paritam paramashibhi.
Sukadeva Goswami, the son of Vyasadeva, in his turn delivered the Bhagavatam to the great emperor Parikshit, who sat surrounded by sages on the bank of the Ganga, awaiting death without taking food or drink.
Krishne swadhamopagate dharma jnana dibhi saha kalau nashta drishamesha puranarko dhunotitaha.
This Bhagavad Puran is as brilliant as the sun, and it has arisen just after the departure of Lord Krishna to his own abode, accompanied by religion, knowledge, etc. Persons who have lost their vision due to the dense darkness of ignorance in the age of Kali shall get light from this Purana.
Very important verse.
Tatra kirtayato vipra viprarse bhuri tejashah aham chadyagamam tatra nivistastadanugrahat soham vashavaishyami yathadhitam yathamati. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
O learned Brahmins, when Sukhdev Goswami recited Bhagavatam there in the presence of Emperor Parikshit, I heard him with rapt attention, and thus by his mercy I learned the Bhagavatam from that great and powerful sage. Now I should try and make you hear the very same thing as I learned it from him and as I have realized it.
Srimad Bhagavatam,
Ki
first
Jai.
canto, third chapter, Ki Jai, and Ananda Leela, Ki Jai.
Really nicely recited.
Beautifully recited. So congratulations.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Brilliantly done. So the final 4-5 verses are describing this Bhagavad Puran. It is the literary incarnation of the Lord, compiled by Vyasadeva, who himself is an incarnation of God. It is meant for the ultimate good of all people. No discrimination. This Purana is as brilliant as the sun, and it has arisen just after the departure of Krishna to his own abode. So the son of Krishna left, and the Srimad Bhagavatam came, right, to replace the sun. Nothing can replace Krishna, but this Bhagavatam is as brilliant as the sun. So those who have lost their vision due to the darkness of ignorance in this age of Kali can get light from this Purana. This is the whole idea. Thus Sukadeva Goswami, he answers the final question of the sages, because questions asked him, where will the religious principles now go for shelter? Bhagavad Puran is where the religious principles are now. So we're very lucky to have access to this Bhagavad Puran. Many years ago, this Bhagavad Puran was lost. Couldn't even find a copy. We're talking about 100 years. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, one of the previous acharyas, he got a copy of the Bhagavad Puran after a very hard search, long search. But now we can get this anywhere, everywhere. We can get it in book form. We can get it on the internet. So we've got no excuse. We are very lucky. And I'd like to thank you all for joining us in the recitation of the Bhagavad Puran. And we've done 3 chapters. And these are really extraordinary chapters, especially chapter 2, chapter 3, and they just get better and better. So are there any questions or any comments? Anything anybody like to ask?
The request is continue like that. That's the request.
Very good. Yes, thank you. We will try. Especially Ananda Leela Mataji, you actually recited those verses. We didn't miss Shruti today, although we always miss Shruti. But
Yeah,
She's our teacher, Prabhuji. We miss her. I'm fortunate. I'm really fortunate. I'm learning from her, and hopefully I'm trying my best.
yeah, it was fantastic. Absolutely brilliant. So I'm going to just send her a message how you did, and she will be very pleased, actually. Very, very pleased. Thank you so much.
Hare
And
Krishna. Thank
Hare
you,
Krishna.
everyone. Thank you, Ananda Leela. Very nicely recited.
Thank
Very
you.
much appreciated.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much. Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you so much.
Dhanyavad. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Anand
Hare
Leela.
Krishna.
Very
Thank you,
nicely
everybody.
recited.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you, Anand
Tulsi
Leela.
Mataji.
Thank you, Matajis and Prabhuji. Thank you very much. I'm
Hare
really
Krishna.
fortunate today.
Yeah, you did very, very nice. I
Hare
really liked
Krishna.
it. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Yogini.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank